Hello, my name is Dr. Bonnie Hedrick, and in this video I want to tell you about April. April was born with everything she needed to grow into a happy, healthy, successful adult. She had a brain to learn how to live, internal structures and processes designed to protect her and keep her healthy. She had a stress response that enabled her to respond to threats when needed. And embedded deep within her DNA, she had a need to connect to other human beings. Before we get into April's story, I want to tell you about the way a snowflake develops. A snowflake starts out as a tiny cold water droplet which drops on the back of a dust or pollen particle in the sky. As it falls to the ground, more water droplets jump on board, building new crystals, making the 6 arms of the snowflake. It is unique from all other flakes because each snowflake falls to the earth on its own path, encountering different atmospheric conditions along the way. Humans develop in much the same way. It is a developmental process that starts out with a blank slate. Over time, we experience many people and events that are like the atmospheric conditions encountered by the snowflake. It is our own path, and it helps to determine our uniqueness. These experiences affect us most in early childhood. They can be fun, fantastic times like having a birthday party with lots of friends. For most of us, though, like it was in April's case, it's a mix of really good times and some really bad times. Her father had a co-occurring mental illness and substance use disorder, which often made his behavior erratic and cruel. As a result, April lived in chaos, leaving her to feel very insecure. Because it was hard for her dad to hold a job, the family often didn't have the things they needed, much less the things that they wanted. The stress from the adversity April experienced at home was compounded when she went to school. Her classmates' cruelty was subtle at first. They just looked at her differently. They often left her out of games. Eventually, though, as she got older, their cruelty became more overt. They pretended to take videos of her on their smartphones and then laughed like they were going to post it on social media. When April was in 3rd grade, her dad went to prison for domestic violence. Even though there had been times she wished he wasn't there, his absence created what seemed like a hole somewhere inside her. A parent's absence from death, incarceration, divorce, or sometimes an overly demanding job can compound adversity. Some parents are mentally or emotionally absent even if they are there physically. From the moment she was born, her brain recorded everything that went on in her home, all the things that happened to her or around her. All her interactions with parents, grandparents, caregivers, teachers, aunts, uncles, and other adults. How they spoke to her, the tone of voice, what they did to her, and also how they nurtured her. From these memories, April began to form scripts in her mind about who she was. This was her self-image. Social scientists have said that from these early experiences, we formulate 3 scripts or thinking patterns about how to navigate life in the future. The first one is the ever-present, nagging bully that tries to sabotage everything we say or do. It seeks to derail us by making us question ourselves. It distorts our thinking. It comes from entrenched inner pain surrounding the ambivalence, rejection, hostility, neglect, and unresponsiveness from important others in our early years. This bully is the one that we have to try hard to control because it is the one that perpetuates a negative self-image. The second script is also one we have to learn how to manage. It's the one based on the perfect image of a person we want to be. Maybe we saw someone in our childhood doing good things and receiving praise for it. And maybe we wanted to get that kind of praise too. Maybe we had adults telling us how to be better. And so, when we don't measure up to our expectations we have of ourselves, the anti-self is ready to point out our failures. And the third script is the real self, the imperfect one, with a set of strengths and also limitations. Like every other human on the planet, it will never be perfect, and that's okay. When we get to the point when we can rationally review these scripts, the how and why they developed, we can begin to live life with more joy and more productivity. April's self-image was a mental picture of herself, a kind of internal dictionary of labels. She labeled herself ugly instead of pretty, dumb instead of intelligent, mean instead of kind. And as a result, she developed some very unhealthy coping. In the beginning, it was her hair. She began pulling it out a strand or two at a time, nothing too noticeable, until one day there was a bald patch in the top of her head. Then she turned to alcohol because that was really easy to get, and later to other things that would lessen her emotional pain. When April was about 25, one of her friends introduced her to some people who supported her through a period of renewal. In the process, she found the courage and determination to strive, to survive, and more than survive, to thrive. We all have it, that courage and determination that lies deep within us. It just sometimes has been covered over with a lot of negativity and adversity. Now April is on the right path, one free from the trappings of her past, and one that reflects her fortitude, that ability to bear pain and move beyond it, and her resiliency, her ability to bounce back. She began to recognize her assets and potential, while being realistic about her limitations. She has stopped focusing on her faults and weaknesses, distorting failures and imperfections, and as a result, it is boosting her mental, social, emotional, and spiritual well-being. Self-image is not permanently fixed. From birth to death, we can learn to recognize the demoralizing chatter of the anti-self. We can learn how to develop a more realistic view of our strengths and weaknesses. We can move forward with courage and determination. Yes, like snowflakes, we are all unique. But unlike snowflakes, we can start over, as April did. Who do you see when you look in the mirror?